Hello and welcome to Shakespeare Project LA. Shakespeare Project LA began as Shakespeare 2020 LA, the Los Angeles division of Shakespeare Project 2020, a worldwide challenge created by Ian Desher to read the entire Shakespeare canon in 2020. Our reading today is Henry VI, Part 1, and our players are Jason Rennie, Chris Klein, Richard Connolly, Taylor Marr, Dylan Fernandez, John Eddings, Nima Rad, Mark Tracy, Emily Redmond Hall, Elise Ashton, Christopher Carbo, Ron Dorn, Megan Wells, Ben Birmingham, Julie Grossman, Elizabeth Juvenal, Spencer Frederick, Nancy Pasquale, Hadley Hulka, and I'm Mary Carrick. Beginning with the funeral of King Henry V, we enter the Henry VI trilogy. Henry V's early death left his young son, Henry VI, prematurely and ill-prepared for the throne. The funeral barely concludes and political juxtapositioning begins. Fearing the loss of what Henry V gained in France, battle plans are again in place, this time with a fearsome foe, Jeanne la Pucelle, Joan of Arc, as we know her. But Shakespeare's Joan is nothing like the Saint Joan of Arc that we know. He is, of course, writing for an English audience and a powerful patron, so Joan becomes whore, sorceress, and other disparaging titles. We meet Margaret and Suffolk for the first time, and the intrigue and the desire for power deliciously takes seed, and the War of the Roses begins. So take ease in your favorite comfy chair and please enjoy William Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 1.
Act 1, Scene 1. London, the nave of Westminster Abbey. Enter the funeral of King Henry V, attended on by the Duke of Bedford, Regent of France, the Duke of Gloucester, Lord Protector, the Duke of Exeter, the Earl of Warwick, the Bishop of Winchester, and the Duke of Somerset.
Hung be the heavens with black, yield day to night, comets importing change of time and state, brandish your crystal tresses in the sky, and with them scourge the bad revolting stars that have consented unto Henry's death. King Henry V, too famous to live long, England ne'er lost a king of so much worth.
England ne'er had a king until his time. Virtue he had, deserving to command. His brandished sword did blind men with his beams. His arms spread wider than a dragon's wings. His sparkling eyes, replete with wrathful fire, more dazzled and drove back his enemies than midday sun fierce bent against their faces. What should I say? His deeds exceed all speech. He ne'er lift up his hand, but conquered.
We mourn in black. Why mourn we not in blood? Henry is dead and never shall revive. Upon a wooden coffin we attend, and death, dishonorable victory, we with our stately presence glorify, like captives bound to a triumphant car. What? Shall we curse the planets of mishap that plotted thus our glory's overthrow? Or shall we think the subtle-witted French, conjurers and sorcerers that afraid of him, by magic verses have contrived his end?
He was a king blessed of the King of Kings. Unto the French the dreadful judgment day, so dreadful, will not be as was his sight. The battles of the Lord of hosts he fought. The church's prayers made him so prosperous.
The church, where is it? Had not churchmen prayed, his thread of life had not so soon decayed. None do you like but an effeminate prince, whom like a schoolboy you may overawe.
Gloucester, whate'er we like, thou art protector, and lookest to command the prince and realm. Thy wife, is proud. She holdeth thee in awe more than God or religious churchman may.
Oh, name not religion, for thou lovest the flesh, and ne'er throughout the year to church thou goest, except to pray against thy foes.
Cease these jars, and rest your minds to peace. Let's to the altar. Heralds, wait on us. Instead of gold, we'll offer up our arms, since arms avail not now that Henry's dead. Posterity await for wretched years when at their mother's moistened eyes babes shall suck. Our isle be made a nourish of salt tears, and none but women left to wail the dead. Henry V, thy ghost I invocate. Prosper this realm. Keep it from civil broils. Combat with adverse planets in the heavens. A far more glorious star thy soul will make than Julius Caesar or bright.
My honorable lords, health to you all. As sad tidings bring I to you out of France, of loss, of slaughter, and discomfiture. Gien, Champagne, Reims, Rouen, Orleans, Paris, Gisors, Poitiers are all quite lost.
What sayest thou, man? Before dead Henry's course? Speak softly, or the loss of those great towns will make him burst his lead and rise from death.
Is Paris lost? Is Rouen yielded up? If Henry were recalled to life again, these news would cause him once more yield the ghost.
How were they lost? What treachery was used?
No treachery, but want of men and money amongst the soldiers. This is muttered, that here you maintain several factions, and whilst a field should be dispatched and fought, you are disputing of your generals. One would have lingering war with little cost, another would fly swift, but wanteth wings, a third thinks without expense at all. By guileful fair words peace may be obtained. Awake, awake, English nobility! Let not sloth dim your honors new begot. Cropped are the flower de luces in your arms of England's coat. One half is cut away.
Were our tears wanting to this funeral, these tidings would call forth their flowing tides.
Me they concern. Regent I am of France, give me my steeled coat. I'll fight for France. Away with these disgraceful wailing robes. Wounds will I lend the French instead of eyes to weep their intermissive miseries.
Lords, view these letters, full of bad mischance. France is revolted from the English quite, except some petty towns of no import. The Dauphin Charles is crowned king in Reims. The bastard of Orleans with him is joined. René, Duke of Anjou, doth take his part. The Duke of Alençon fleeth to his side.
The Dauphin crowned king, all fly to him? Oh, whither shall we fly from this reproach?
We will not fly, but to our enemies' throats. Bedford, if thou be slack, I'll fight it out.
Gloucester, why doubtest thou of my forwardness? Huh? An army have I mustered in my thoughts, wherewith already France is overrun.
My gracious lords, to add to your laments, wherewith you now bedew King Henry's hearse, I must inform you of a dismal fight betwixt the stout Lord Talbot and the French.
What, wherein Talbot overcame is so?
Oh no, wherein Lord Talbot was o'erthrown. The circumstance I'll tell you more at large. The 10th of August last, this dreadful lord, retiring from the siege of Orleans, having full scarce 6,000 in his troop, by 23,000 of the French was round encompassed and set upon. No leisure had he to enrank his men. He wanted pikes to set before his archers, instead whereof sharp stakes plucked out of hedges, they pitch it in the ground confusedly, to keep the horsemen off from breaking in. More than 3 hours the fight continued, where valiant Talbot, above human thought, enacted wonders with his sword and lance. Hundreds he sent to hell, and none durst stand him. Here, there, and everywhere enraged he slew. The French exclaimed the devil was in arms. Oh, the whole army stood agazed on him, his soldiers spying his undaunted spirit. A Talbot, cried out amain, and rushed into the bowels of the battle. Here had the conquest fully been sealed up if Sir John Falstaff had not plagued the coward. He, being devoured, placed behind with purpose to relieve and follow them, cowardly fled, not having struck one stroke. Hence grew the general rack and massacre. Enclosed were they with their enemies. A base Walloon to win the Dauphin's grace thrust Talbot with a spear in the back. From all France with their chief assembled strength, does not one presume to look once in the face.
Is Talbot slain then? I will slay myself for living idly here in pomp and ease, while such a worthy leader wanting aid unto his dastard foeman is betrayed.
Oh no, he lives, but is took prisoner, and Lord Scales with him, and Lord Hungerford. Most of the rest slaughtered or took likewise.
His ransom there is none but I shall pay. I'll hail the Dauphin headlong from his throne. His crown shall be the ransom of my friend. 4 of their lords I'll change for one of ours. Farewell, my masters. To my task will I. Bonfires in France forthwith I am to make, to keep our great St. George's feast withal. 10,000 soldiers with me I will take, whose bloody deeds shall make all Europe quake.
So you had need, for Orleans besieged, the English army is grown weak and faint. Earl of Salisbury craveth supply, and Hardy keeps his men from mutiny. Since they have so few, watch with such a multitude.
Remember, lords, your oaths to Henry sworn, either to quell the Dauphin utterly, or bring him in obedience to your yoke.
I do remember it, and here take my leave to go about my preparation.
I'll to the tower with all the haste I can to view the artillery and munition, and then I will proclaim young Henry king.
To Eltham will I, where the young king is, being ordained his special governor, and for his safety there I'll best devise.
Each hath his place and function to attend. I am left out. For me nothing remains. But long I will not be Jack out of office. The king from Eltham I intend to steal, and sit at chiefest stern of public weal.
Act 1, Scene 2, France, the Dauphin's camp outside of Orleans. Enter Charles the Dauphin, Alençon, and Regnier.
Mars, his true moving, even as in the heavens, so in the earth, to this day is not known. Late did he shine upon the English side. Now we are victors. Upon us he smiles. What towns of any moment but we have? At pleasure, here we lie near Orleans. Otherwise, the famished English, like pale ghosts, faintly besiege us 1 hour in a month.
They want their porridge and their fat bull beeves. Either they must be dieted like mules and have their provender tied to their mouths, or piteous they will look like drowned mice.
Let's raise the siege. Why live we idly here? Talbot is taken, whom we want to fear, remaineth none but mad-brained Salisbury, and him in well in fretting spend his gold, nor men nor money hath he to make war.
Sound alarm, we will rush on them. Now for the honor of the forlorn French, him I forgive my death that killeth me when he sees me go back 1 foot or fly. Whosoever saw the like, what men have I? Dogs, cowards, dastards, I would ne'er have fled but that they left me midst my enemies.
Salisbury is a desperate homicide. He fighteth as one weary of his life. The other lords, like lions wanting food, do rush upon us as they hungry prey.
Froissart, a countryman of ours, records England all Olivers and Rolands bred. During the time Edward III did reign, more truly now this be verified, for none but Samson and Goliath as it sendeth forth to skirmish, 1 to 10, lean, robund rascals. Who would e'er suppose they had such courage and audacity?
Let's leave this town, for they are harebrained slaves, and hunger will enforce them to be more eager. Of old I know them. Rather with their teeth the walls they'll tear down than forsake the siege.
I think by some odd ginners or device their arms are set like clocks, still to strike on. Else ne'er could they hold out so as they do. By my consent, we'll even let them alone.
Be it so.
It's the Prince Dauphin. I have news for him.
Bastard of Orleans, thrice welcome to us.
Methinks your looks are sad, your cheer appalled. Hath a late overthrow wrought this offense? Be not dismayed, for succor is at hand. A holy maid hither with me I bring, which by a vision sent to her from heaven, ordained is to raise this tedious siege and drive the English forth the bounds of France. The spirit of deep prophecy she hath, exceeding the 9 sibyls of old Rome. What's past and what's to come she can descry. Speak, shall I call her in? Believe my words, for they are certain and infallible.
Go, call her in. But first, to try her skill, Regnier, stand thou as Dauphin in my place. Question her proudly, let thy looks be stern. By this means shall we sound what skill she hath.
Fair maid, is it thou wilt do these wondrous feats?
Regnier, is it thou that thinkest to beguile me? Where is the Dauphin? Come from behind. I know thee well, though never seen before. Be not amazed. There's nothing hid from me. In private will I talk with thee apart. Stand back, you lords, and give us leave a while.
She takes upon her bravely at first dash.
Dauphin, I am by birth a shepherd's daughter, my wit untrained in any kind of art. Heaven and Our Lady gracious hath it pleased to shine on my contemptible estate. Lo, whilst I waited on my tender lambs, and to the sun's parching heat displayed my cheeks, God's mother deigned to appear to me, and in a vision full of majesty willed me to leave my base vocation and free my country from calamity. Her aid she promised, and assured success. In complete glory she revealed herself, and whereas I was black and swart before, with those clear rays which she infused on me, that beauty I am blessed with, which you may see. Ask me what questions thou canst possible, and I will answer unpremeditated. My courage try by combat if thou darest, and thou shalt find that I exceed my sex. Resolve on this. Thou shalt be fortunate if thou receive me for thy warlike mate.
Thou hast astonished me with thy high terms. Only this proof I'll of thy valor make. In single combat thou shalt buckle with me, and if thou vanquishest, thy words are true. Otherwise I renounce all confidence.
I am prepared. Here is my keen-edged sword, decked with the fine fleur de lis on each side. The witch of Touraine in St. Catherine's Church showed out of a great deal of old iron I chose forth.
Then come, a God's name. I fear no woman.
And while I live, I'll ne'er fly from a man.
Stay! Thy hands. Thou art an Amazon, and fightest with the sword of Deborah.
Christ's mother helps me, else were I too weak.
Whoe'er helps thee, 'tis thou that must help me. Impatiently I burn with thy desire. My heart and hands thou hast at once subdued. Excellent Pucelle, if thy name be so. Let me thy servant and not sovereign be. 'Tis the French Dauphin sueth to thee thus.
I must not yield to any rites of love, for my profession sacred from above. When I have chased all thy foes from hence, then will I think upon a recompense.
Meantime, look gracious upon thy prostrate throne.
My lord, methinks he's very long in talk.
Doubtless he shrives this woman to her smock, else ne'er could he so long protract his speech.
Shall we disturb him, since he keeps no mean?
He may mean more than we poor men do know. These women are shrewd tempters with their tongues.
My lord, where are you? What device you on? Shall we give Orleans or no?
Why, no, I say. Distrustful recreants, fight to the last gasp. I'll be your guard.
What she says, I'll confirm. We'll fight it out.
Assigned am I to be the English scourge. This night the siege assuredly I'll raise. Expect St. Martin summer, halcyon stays since I have entered into these wars. Glory is like a circle in the water which never ceases to enlarge itself, till by broad spreading it disperse itself to naught. With Henry's death, the English circle ends. Dispersed are the glories it included. Now am I like that proud insulting ship which Caesar and his fortune bear at once.
Was Mohammed inspired with a dove? Thou with an eagle art inspired then. Helen, the mother of great Constantine, nor yet St. Philip's daughters were like thee. Bright star of Venus, fallen down on the earth, how may I reverently worship thee enough?
Give off delays and let us raise the siege.
Woman, do what thou canst to save our honors. Drive them from Orleans and be immortalized.
Presently we'll try. Come, let's away about it. No prophet will I trust if she prove false.
Act 1, Scene 3. Before the Tower of London. Enter Gloucester with his serving men in blue coats. I am come to survey the tower this day. Since Henry's death, I fear there is conveyance. Where be these warders that they wait not here? Open the gates. 'Tis Gloucester that calls.
Who's there that knocks so imperiously?
It is the noble Duke of Gloucester.
Oh, where he be, you may not be let in.
Villains, answer you so, the Lord Protector?
Oh, the Lord protect him, so we answer him. We do no otherwise than we are willed.
Who willed you? Or whose will stands but mine? There's none protector of the realm but I. Break up the gates, I'll be your warranties. Shall I be flouted thus by dunghill grooms?
What noise is this? What traitors have we here?
Lieutenant, is it you whose voice I hear? Open the gates, 'tis Gloucester that would enter.
Have patience, noble Duke, I may not open. The Cardinal of Winchester forbids. From him I have express commandment that thou nor none of thine shall be let in.
Faint-hearted Woodville, prizest him for me? Arrogant Winchester, that haughty prelate whom Henry our late sovereign ne'er could brook. Thou art no friend to God or to the king. Open the gates or I'll shut thee out shortly.
Open the gates unto the Lord Protector, or we'll burst them open if you come not quickly.
How now, ambitious Humphrey? What means this?
Peeled priest, dost thou commands me be shut out?
I do, thou most usurping protector and not protector of the king or realm.
Stand back, thou manifest conspirator, thou that contrivedst to murder our dead lord, thou that gives whores indulgences to sin. I'll canvass thee in thy broad cardinal's hat, if thou proceed in this thy insolence.
Nay, stand back, I will not budge a foot. This be Damascus, be thou cursed Cain, to slay thy brother.
I will not slay thee, but I'll drive thee back. Thy scarlet robes as a child's bearing cloth I'll use to carry thee out of this place.
Do what thou darest, I beard thee to thy face.
Am I dared and bearded to my face? Draw, men. For all this privileged place, blue coats to tawny coats. Priest, beware your beard. I mean to tug it off and cup you soundly. Under my feet I'll stamp thy cardinal's hat, in spite of pope or dignitaries of church. Here by the cheeks I'll drag thee up and down.
Gloucester, thou wilt answer this before the Pope.
Oh, Winchester goose, I cry a rope, a rope! Now beat them hence. Why do you let them stay? Thee I'll chase hence, thou wolf in sheep's array. Out, tawny coats, out, scarlet hypocrite!
My lords, that you, being supreme magistrates, thus contumeliously should break the peace.
Peace, Mayor. Ha! Thou knowest little of my wrongs. Here's Beaufort, that regards nor God nor king, hath here distrained the tower to his use.
Ah, here's Gloucester, a foe to citizens, one that still motions war and never peace, or charging your free purses with large fines, that seeks to overthrow religion because he is protector of the realm, and would have armor here out of the tower to crown himself king and suppress the prince.
I will not answer thee with words, but blows. Go!
Not rest for me in this tumultuous strife, but to make open proclamation. Come, officer, as loud as e'er thou canst, cry.
All manner of men assembled here in arms this day against God's peace and the king's. We charge and command you, in his highness' name, to repair to your several dwelling places, and not to wear, handle, or use any sword, weapon, or dagger henceforth, upon pain of death.
Cardinal, I'll be no breaker of the law, but we shall meet and break our minds at large.
Gloucester, we'll meet to thy cost, be sure. Thy heartblood I will have for this day's work.
I'll call for clubs if you will not away. This cardinal's more haughty than the devil.
Mayor, farewell. Thou dost but what thou mayst.
Abominable Gloucester, guard thy head, for I intend to have it ere long.
See the coast cleared, and then we will depart. Good God, these nobles should such stomachs bear. I myself not once in 40 year.
Act 1, Scene 4, Orleans, before a tower on the outskirts of the city, and to the master gunner of Orleans and his boy.
Sirrah, thou knowest how Orleans is besieged, and how the English have the suburbs won.
Father, I know, and oft have shot at them. However unfortunate, I missed my aim.
But now thou shalt not. Be thou ruled by me. Chief Master Gunner am I of this town. Something I must do to procure my grace. The prince's espials have informed me how the English in the suburbs closed entrenched went through a secret grate of iron bars in yonder tower to overpeer the city, and thence discover how with most advantage they may vex on us with shot or with assault. To intercept this inconvenience, a piece of ordnance gainst it I have placed, and even with these 3 days have I watched if I could see them. Now do thou watch, for I can stay no longer. If thou spiest any, run and bring me word, and thou shalt find me at the governor's.
Father, I warn you, take you no care. I'll never trouble you if I spy them.
Talbot, my life, my joy, again returned. How wouldst thou handle being prisoner? Or by what means gottest thou to be released? Discourse, I prithee, on this turret's top.
The Duke of Bedford had a prisoner called the brave Lord Ponton de Santry. For him I was exchanged and ransomed, but with a baser man of arms by far, once in contempt, they would have bartered me, which I, disdaining, scorned and craved death, rather than I would be so vile esteemed. In fine, redeemed I was as I desired, but oh, the treacherous Falstaff's wounds my heart, whom with my bare fists I would execute if I now had him brought into my power.
Yet tellest thou not how thou wert entertained.
With scoffs and scorns and contumelious taunts. In open marketplace produced they me, to be a public spectacle to all. Here, they said, is a terror of the French, the scarecrow that affights our children so. Then broke I from the officers that led me, and with my nails digged stones out of the ground, to hurl at the beholders of my shame. My grisly countenance made the others fly. None durst come near for fear of sudden death. In iron walls they deemed me not secure. So great fear of my name mongst them they were spread, that they supposed I could rend bars of steel and spurn in pieces posts of adamant. Wherefore a guard of chosen shot I had, that walked about me every minute while, that if I did but stir out of my bed, ready they were to shoot me to the heart.
I grieve to hear what torments you endured, but we will be revenged sufficiently. Now it is supper time in Orleans. Here, through the gate, I count each one and view the Frenchmen how they fortify. Let us look in. The sight will much delight thee. Sir Thomas Gargrave and Sir William Glansdale, let me have your express opinions. Where is best to place to make our battery next?
I think at the north gate, for there stands lords.
And I here at the bulwark of the bridge.
For aught I see, this city must be famished, or with light skirmishes enfeebled.
Oh Lord, have mercy on me. Woeful sinner.
Oh Lord, have mercy on me, woeful man.
What chance is this that suddenly hath crossed us? Speak, Salisbury. At least if thou canst, speak. How farest thou, mirror of all martial men? One of thy eyes and thy cheek side struck off. Accursed tower, accursed fatal hand that hath contrived this woeful tragedy. In 13 battles Salisbury overcame. Henry V he first trained to the wars, whilst any trump did sound or drum struck up. His sword did ne'er leave the striking in the field. Yet lives thou, Salisbury? Though thy speech doth fail, one eye thou hast to look to heaven for grace. The sun with one eye vieweth all the world. Heaven, be thou gracious to none alive, if Salisbury wants mercy at thy hands. Sir Thomas Gargrave, hast thou any life? Speak unto Talbot. Nay, look up to him. Bear hence his body. I will help to bury it. Salisbury, cheer thy spirit with this comfort. Thou shalt not die whiles he beckons with his hand and smiles on me, as who should say, when I am dead and gone, remember to avenge me on the French. Plantagenet I will, and like thee, Nero, play on the lute, beholding the towns burn. Wretched shall France be only in my name. What stir is this? What tumult's in the heavens? Whence comes this alarm and the noise?
My lord, the French have gathered head. The Dauphin, with one Joan la Pucelle joined, a holy prophetess, new risen up, is come with a great power to raise the siege.
Hear, hear, how dying Salisbury doth groan. It irks his heart he cannot be revenged. Frenchmen, I'll speak Salisbury to you. Pucelle or Puzel, Dauphin or Dogfish, your hearts I'll stamp out with my horse's heels and make a quagmire of your mangled brains. Convey we Salisbury into his tent, and then try what these dastard Frenchmen dare.
Act 1, Scene 5, the battlefield outside of Orleans. Enter Talbot, pursuing the French.
Where is my strength, my valor, my force? Our English troops retire, I cannot stay them. A woman clad in armor chases them. Huh. Here she comes. I'll have a bout with thee. Devil or devil's dam, I'll conjure thee. Blood I will draw on thee. Thou art a witch, and straightway give thy soul to him thou servest.
Come, come. 'Tis only I that must disgrace thee.
Heavens, can you suffer hell to so prevail? My breast I'll burst with the straining of my courage, and from my shoulders crack my arms asunder. But I will chastise this high-minded strumpet.
Talbot, farewell. Thy hour is not yet come. I must go victual Orleans forthwith. Oh, take me if thou canst. I scorn thy strength. Go, go, cheer up thy hunger-starved men. Help Salisbury to make his testament. This day is ours, as many more shall be.
My thoughts are welded like a potter's wheel. I know not where I am, nor what I do. Which by fear, not force, like Hannibal, drives back our troops and conquers as she list. So bees with smoke and doves with noisome stench are from their hives and houses driven away. They called us for our fierceness English dogs, now like to whelps we crying run away. Hark, countrymen! Either renew the fight or tear the lions out of England's coat. Renounce your soil, give sheeps and lions stead. Sheep run not half so treacherous from the wolf, or horse or oxen from the leopard, as you fly from your oft-subdued slaves. It will not be. Retire into your trenches. You all consented unto Salisbury's death, for none would strike a stroke in his revenge. Pucelle is entered into Orleans, in spite of all of us or aught that we could do. Were I to die with Salisbury, the shame hereof will make me hide my head.
Act 1, Scene 6, atop the walls of Orleans. Enter Jean La Pucelle, Charles Delphine, Renier, and Alençon.
Advance our waving colors on the walls. Rescue this Orleans from the English. The Jean La Pucelle hath performed her word.
Divinest creature, Estrella's daughter, how shall I honor thee for this success? Thy promises are like Adonis' garden, that one day bloomed and fruitful were the next. France, triumph in thy glorious prophetess. Recovered is the town of Orleans. More blessed hap did ne'er befall our state.
Why ring no bells aloud throughout the town? Dauphin, command the citizens make bonfires and feast and banquet in the open streets to celebrate the joy that God hath given us.
Our France will be replete with mirth and joy when they shall hear how we have played the men.
It is Joan, not we, by whom the day is won, for which I will divide my crown with her, and all the priests and friars in my realm shall in procession sing her endless praise. A statelier pyramid to her I'll rear than Rodolphe of Memphis ever was. In memory of her, when she is dead, her ashes in an urn more precious than the rich jeweled coffer of Darius, transported shall be at high festivals before the kings and queens of France. No longer on Saint Denis will we cry, but Jean La Pucelle shall be France's saint. Come in and let us banquet royally after this golden day of victory.
Act 2, Scene 1. Before Orleans, the night following the French rescue of the town. Enter on the walls a French sergeant with a sentinel.
Sirs, take your places and be vigilant. If any noise or soldier you perceive near the walls, by some apparent sign, let us have knowledge at the court of guard.
Sergeant, you shall. Us our poor servitors, when others sleep upon their quiet beds, constrained to watch in darkness, rain, and cold.
Lord Regent and redoubted Burgundy, by whose approach the regions of Artois, Walloon, and Picardy are friends to, having all day caroused and banqueted, embrace we then this opportunity, as fitting best to quittance their deceit, contrived by art and baleful sorcery.
Coward of France, how much he wrongs his fame, despairing of his own arm's fortitude to join with witches and the help of hell.
Traitors have never other company. But what's that Pucelle whom they term so pure?
A maid, they say.
A maid? And be so martial?
Pray God, she prove not masculine ere long. If underneath the standard of the French, she may carry armor she hath begun.
Well, let them practice and converse with spirits. God is our fortress, in whose conquering name let us resolve to scale their flinty bulwarks.
Ascend, brave Talbot, we will follow thee.
Not altogether. Better far, I guess, that we do make our entrance several ways, that if it chance that one of us do fail, the other may yet rise against their force.
Agreed. I'll to yon corner.
And I to this.
And here will Talbot mount, or make his grave. Now, Salisbury, for thee, and for the right of English Henry, shall this night appear, how much in duty I am bound to both.
St. George, a Talbot!
Arm! Arm! The enemy doth make assault!
How now, my lords? What? All unready so?
Unready? Aye, and glad we escaped so well.
'Twas time, I trow, to wake and leave our beds, hearing alarms at our chamber doors.
Of all exploits, since first I followed arms, ne'er heard I of a warlike enterprise more venturous or desperate than this.
I think this Talbot be a fiend of hell.
If not of hell, the heavens sure favor him.
Here comes Charles. I marvel how he sped.
But holy Jean was his defensive guard.
Is this thy cunning, thou deceitful dame? Didst thou at first, to flatter us withal, make us partakers of a little gain, that now our loss might be 10 times so much?
Wherefore is Charles impatient with his friend? At all times will you have my power alike? Sleeping or waking, must I still prevail? Or will you blame and lay the fault on me? Improvident soldiers, had your watch been good, this sudden mischief could ne'er have fallen.
Duke of Alençon, this was your default. That, being captain of the watch tonight, did look no better to that weighty charge.
Had all your quarters been as safely kept as that whereof I had the government, we had not been thus shamefully surprised.
Mine was secure.
And so was mine, my lord.
And for myself, most part of all this night, within her quarter and mine own precinct, I was employed in passing to and fro about relieving of the sentinels. Then how or which way should they first break in?
Question, my lords, no further of the case. How or which way? 'Tis sure they found some place but weakly guarded where the breach was made. And now there rests no other shift but this, to gather our soldiers scattered and dispersed and lay new platforms to undamage them.
Talbot! Talbot! I'll be so bold to take what they have left. The cry of Talbot serves me for a sword, for I have loaded me with many spoils, using no other weapon but his name.
Act 2, Scene 2. The next morning on the streets of Orleans, enter Talbot, Bedford, Burgundy, and a captain.
The day begins to break and night is fled, whose pitchy mantle overveiled the earth. Here is sound retreat, and cease our hot pursuit.
Bring forth the body of old Salisbury, and here advance it in the marketplace, the middle center of this cursed town. Now have I paid my vow unto his soul. For every drop of blood was drawn from him, there hath at least 5 Frenchmen died tonight, and that hereafter ages may behold what ruin happened in revenge of him. Within their chiefest temple I'll erect a tomb wherein his corpse shall be interred, upon the which, that everyone may read, shall be engraved the sack of Orleans, the treacherous manner of his mournful death, and what a terror he has been to France. But lords, in all our bloody massacre, I muse we meet not with the Dauphin's grace, his new-come champion, virtuous Joan of Arc, nor any of his false confederates.
'Tis thought, Lord Talbot, when the fight began, roused on the sudden from their drowsy beds, they did amongst the troops of armed men leap o'er the walls for refuge in the field.
Myself, as far as I could well discern for smoke and dusty vapors of the night, am sure I scared the Dauphin and his troll. When arm in arm they came swiftly running, like to a pair of living turtle doves that could not live asunder day or night. After that things are set in order here, we'll follow them with all the power we have.
All hail, my lords. Which of this princely train call you the warlike Talbot for his acts so much applauded through the realm of France?
Here is the Talbot. Who would speak with him?
The virtuous lady, Countess of Auvergne, with modesty admiring thy renown, by me entreats, great lord, thou wouldst vouchsafe to visit her poor castle where she lies, that she may boast she hath beheld the man whose glory fills the world with loud report.
Is it even so? Nay, then I see our wars will turn into a peaceful comic sport, when ladies crave to be encountered with. You may not, my lord, despise her gentle suit.
Never trust me then. For when a world of men could not prevail with all their oratory, yet hath a woman's kindness overruled. Therefore tell her I return great thanks, and in submission will attend on her. Will not your honors bear me company?
No, truly, 'tis more than manners will. And I have heard it said unbidden guests are often welcomest when they are gone.
Well then, alone, since there's no remedy, I mean to prove this lady's courtesy. Come hither, Captain. You perceive my mind.
I do, my lord, and mean accordingly.
Act 2, Scene 3. The Comtesse Sauvagne's castle. Enter Comtesse Sauvagne with her porter.
Porter, remember what I gave in charge, and when you have done so, bring the keys to me.
Madame, I will.
The plot is laid. If all things fall out right, I shall as famous be by this exploit as Scythian Thamyris by Cyrus' death. great is the rumor of this dreadful knight, and his achievements of no less account. Fain would mine eyes be witness with mine ears, to give their censure of these rare reports.
Madam, according as your ladyship desired, by message craved, so is Lord Talbot come.
And he is welcome. What? Is this the man?
Madam, it is.
Is this the scourge of France? Is this the Talbot, so much feared abroad that with his name the mothers still their babes? I see report is fabulous and false. I thought I should have seen some Hercules, a second Hector for his grim aspect and large proportion of his strong-knit limbs. Alas, this is a child, a silly dwarf. It cannot be this weak and writhed shrimp should strike such terror to his enemies.
Madam, I have been bold to trouble you, but since your ladyship is not at leisure, I'll sort some other time to visit you.
What means he now? Go ask him whither he goes.
Stay, my Lord Talbot, for my lady craves to know the cause of your abrupt departure.
Marry, for that she's in a wrong belief, I go to certify her that Talbot's here.
If thou be he, then art thou prisoner.
Prisoner? To whom?
To me, bloodthirsty lord. And for that cause I trained thee to my house. Long time thy shadow hath been thrall to me, for in my gallery thy picture hangs. But now will the substance endure the like, and I will chain these legs and arms of thine, that hast by tyranny these many years wasted our country, slain our citizens, and sent our sons and husbands captive. Laughest thou, wretch? Thy mirth shall turn to moan.
I laugh to see your ladyship so fond, to think that you have aught but Talbot's shadow whereon to practice your severity.
Why, art thou not the man?
I am indeed.
Then I have substance too.
No, no, I am but a shadow of myself. You are deceived. My substance is not here, for what you see is but the smallest part and least proportion of humanity. I tell you, madam, were the whole frame here, it is of such spacious, lofty pitch, your roof were not sufficient to contain it.
This is a riddling merchant for the nonce. He will be here, and yet he is not here. How can these contrarieties agree?
That I will show you presently. How say you, madam? Are you now persuaded that Talbot is but a shadow of himself? These are his substance, sinews, arms, strength, with which he yoketh your rebellious necks, rouseth your cities, and subverts your towns, and in a moment makes them desolate.
Victorious Talbot, pardon my abuse. I find thou art no less than fame hath bruited, and more than may be gathered by thy shame. Let my presumption not provoke thy wrath, for I am sorry that with reverence I did not entertain thee as thou art.
Be not dismayed, fair lady, nor misconster the mind of Talbot as you did mistake the outward composition of his body. What you have done hath not offended me, nor other satisfaction do I crave, but only with your patience that we may taste your wine and see what cates you have, for soldiers' stomachs always serve them well.
With all my heart, and think me honoured, to see so great a warrior at my house.
Act 2, Scene 4, London, the Temple Garden. Enter Richard Plantagenet, Warwick, Somerset, William de la Pole, the Earl of Suffolk, Vernon, and a lawyer.
Great lords and gentlemen, what means this silence? Dare no man answer in the case of truth.
Within the temple hall, we were too loud. The garden here is much more convenient.
Then say at once if I maintain the truth, or else was wrangling Somerset in the error.
Faith, I have been a truant in the law, and yet could never frame my will to it, and therefore frame the law unto my will.
Judge you, my lord of Warwick, then between us.
Between two hawks, which flies the higher pitch? Between two dogs, which hath the deeper mouth? Between two blades, which bears the better temper? Between two horses, which doth bear him best? Between two girls, which hath the merriest eye? I have perhaps some shallow spirit of judgment, but in these nice sharp quillets of the law, good faith, I am no wiser than a dog.
Tut, here is a mannerly forbearance. The truth appears so naked on my side that any purblind eye may find it out.
And on my side, it is so well apparelled, so clear, so shining, and so evident that it will glimmer through a blind man's eye.
Since you are tongue-tied and so loath to speak, in dumb significance, proclaim your thoughts. Let him that is a true-born gentleman and stands upon the honor of his birth, if he suppose that I have pleaded truth, from off this briar, pluck a white rose with me.
Let him that is no coward nor no flatterer, but dare maintain the party of the truth, pluck a red rose from off this thorn with me.
I love no colors, and without all color, all base, insinuating flattery, I pluck this white rose with Plantagenet.
I pluck this red rose with yon Somerset, and say withal I think he held the right.
Stay, lords and gentlemen, and pluck no more till you conclude that he upon whose side the fewest roses are cropped from the tree shall yield the other in the right opinion.
Good Master Vernon, it is well objected. If I have fewest, I subscribe in silence.
Aye.
Then, for the truth and plainness of the case, I pluck this pale and maiden bosom here, giving my verdict on the white rose side.
Prick not your finger as you pluck it off, lest bleeding you do paint the white rose red and fall on my side, so against your will.
If I, my lord, for my opinion bleed, opinion shall be surgeon to my hurt, and keep me on the side where still I am.
Well, come on. Who else?
Unless my study and my books be false, the argument you held was wrong in law. In sign whereof, I pluck a white rose too.
Somerset, where is your argument?
Here in my scabbard, meditating that shall dye your white rose a bloody red.
Meantime your cheeks do counterfeit our roses, for pale they look with fear as witnessing the truth on our side.
No, Plantagenet, 'tis not for fear, but anger, that thy cheeks blush for pure shame to counterfeit our roses, and yet thy tongue will not confess thy error.
Hath not thy rose a canker, Somerset?
Hath not thy rose a thorn, Plantagenet?
Aye, sharp and piercing to maintain his truth, whilst thy consuming canker eats his falsehood.
Well, I'll find friends to wear my bleeding roses that shall maintain what I have said is true, where false Plantagenet dare not be seen.
Now, by this maiden blossom in my hand, I scorn thee and thy fashion, peevish boy.
Turn not thy scorns this way, Plantagenet.
Oh, proud Pole, I will, and scorn both him and thee.
I'll turn my part thereof into thy throat.
Away, away, good William de la Pole. We grace the yeoman by conversing with him.
Now, by God's will, thou wrongst him, Somerset. His grandfather was Lionel, Duke of Clarence, third son to the third Edward, King of England. Spring crestless yeoman from so deep a root?
He bears him on the place's privilege, or durst not, for his craven heart says thus.
By him that made me, I'll maintain my words on any plot of ground in Christendom. Was not thy father Richard, Earl of Cambridge, for treason executed in our late king's days? And by his treason stands not thou attainted, corrupted, and exempt from ancient gentry? His trespass yet lives guilty in thy blood, and, till thou be restored, thou art a yeoman.
My father was a Tatchett, not a tainted. Condemned to die for treason, but no traitor. And that I'll prove on better men than Somerset. For growing time once ripened to my will. For your partaker, Pole, and you yourself, I'll note you in my book of memory to scourge you for this apprehension. Look to it well, and say you are well warned.
Thou shalt find us ready for thee still, and know us by these colours for thy foes. For these my friends, in spite of thee, shall wear.
And by my soul, this pale and angry rose, as cognizance of my blood-drinking hate, will I forever, and my faction, wear until it wither with me to my grave, or flourish to the height of my degree.
Go forward and be choked with thy ambition, and so farewell, until I meet thee next.
Have with thee, Pole. Farewell, ambitious Richard.
How I am braved and must perforce endure it.
This blot that they object against your house shall be whipped out in the next Parliament, called for the truce of Winchester and Gloucester. And if thou be not the then created York, I will not live to be accounted Warwick. Meantime, in signal of my love to thee, against proud Somerset and William Pole, will I upon thy party wear this rose. And where I prophesy this brawl today, grown to this faction in the Temple Garden, shall send between the red rose and the white 1,000 souls to death and deadly night.
Good Master Varnon, I am bound to you that you on my behalf would pluck a flower.
In your behalf, still will I wear the same.
And so will I.
Thanks, gentle sir. Come, let us forward to dinner. I dare say this quarrel will drink blood another day.
Act 2, Scene 5, a chamber in the Tower of London. Enter Edmund Mortimer, brought in a chair, and a keeper.
Kind keepers of my weak decaying age, let dying Mortimer here rest himself. Even like a man new hailed from the rack, so fare my limbs with long imprisonment, and these gray locks, the pursuivants of death, Nestor like aged in an age of care, argue the end of Edmund Mortimer. These eyes like lamps whose wasting oil is spent, wax dim as drawing to their exigent. Weak shoulders o'erborne with burdening grief, and pithless arms like to a withered vine that droops his sapless branches to the ground. Yet are these feet, whose strengthless stay is numb, unable to support this lump of clay. Swift-winged with desire to get a grave, as witting I no other comfort have. But tell me, keeper, will my nephew come?
Richard Plantagenet, my lord, will come. We sent unto the temple, unto his chamber. An answer was returned that he will come.
Enough, my soul shall then be satisfied. Poor gentleman, his wrong doth equal mine. Since Henry Monmouth first began to reign, before whose glory I was great in arms, this loathsome sequestration have I had. And even since then hath Richard been obscured, deprived of honor and inheritance, but now the arbitrator of despairs. Just death, kind umpire of men's miseries, with sweet enlargement doth dismiss me hence. I would his troubles likewise were expired, that so he might recover what was lost.
My lord, your loving nephew now is come.
Richard Plantagenet, my friend, is he come?
Aye, noble uncle. Thus ignobly used, your nephew, late despised Richard, comes.
Direct mine arms, I may embrace his neck, and in his bosom spin my latter gasp. Oh, tell me when my lips do touch his cheeks, that I may kindly give one fainting kiss. And now declare, sweet stem from York's great stock, why didst thou say of late thou wert despised?
First, lean thy aged back against mine arm, and in that ease I'll tell thee my disease. This day, in argument upon a case, some words there grew twixt Somerset and me, among which terms he used his lavish tongue, and did upbraid me with my father's death, which obloquy set bars before my tongue, else with the like I had requited him. Therefore, good uncle, for my father's sake, in honour of a true Plantagenet, and for alliance sake, declare the cause my father, Earl of Cambridge, lost his head.
That cause, fair nephew, that imprisoned me, and hath detained me all my flowering youth within a loathsome dungeon, there to pine, was cursed instrument of his decease.
Discover more at large what cause that was, for I am ignorant and cannot guess.
I will, if that my fading breath permit, and death approach not ere my tale be done. Henry IV, grandfather to this king, disposed his nephew Richard, Edward's son, the first begotten and lawful heir of Edward King, the third of that descent, during whose reign the Percys of the North, finding his usurpation most unjust, endeavored my advancement to the throne. The reason moved these warlike lords to this was for that young Richard thus removed, leaving no heir begotten of his body, I was the next by birth and parentage. For by my mother I derive it, am from Lionel, Duke of Clarence, third son to King Edward III. Whereas he from John of Gaunt doth bring his pedigree, being but fourth from that heroic line. By mark, as in this haughty great attempt they labored to plant the rightful heir, I lost my liberty, and they their lives. Long after this, when Henry V, succeeding his father Bolingbroke, did reign, thy father, Earl of Cambridge then, derived from famous Edmund Langley, Duke of York, marrying my sister that was thy mother was. Again, in pity of my heart distressed, levied an army, weening to redeem and have installed me in the diadem. But as the rest, so fell that noble earl and was beheaded. Thus the Mortimers, in whom the title rested, were suppressed.
Of which, my lord, your honor is the last.
True. And thou seest that I have no issue, and that my fainting words do warrant death. Thou art my heir. The rest I wish thee gather. But yet be wary in thy studious care.
Thy grave admonishments prevail with me. But yet methinks my father's execution was nothing less than bloody tyranny.
With silence, nephew, be thou politic. Strong fixed is the house of Lancaster, and like a mountain not to be removed. But now thy uncle is removing hence, as princes do their courts when they are cloyed with long continuance in a settled place.
Oh, uncle, would some part of my young years might but redeem the passage of your age.
Thou dost then wrong me, as that slaughterer doth, which giveth many wounds when one will kill. Or not, accept thou sorrow for my good. Only give order for my funeral. And so, farewell. And fair be all thy hopes, and prosperous be thy life. In peace and war.
And peace. No war befall thy parting soul. In prison hast thou spent a pilgrimage, and like a hermit overpassed thy days. Well, I will lock his counsel in my breast, and what I do imagine, let that rest. Keepers! Convey him hence, and I myself will see his burial better than his life. Here dies the dusky torch of Mortimer, choked with ambition of the meaner sort, and for those wrongs, those bitter injuries which Somerset hath offered to my house, I doubt not, but with honour to redress. And therefore haste I to the Parliament, either to be restored to my blood, or make mine ill the advantage of my good.